Brothers and sisters, welcome back to my channel, and today we're gonna have a formal discussion with Joswa Smith.
Hello, nice to be here again.
And we're gonna talk about Radiant Typhoon, we're gonna talk about Draco Tail and the different variants of those decks, and also touched upon on some other archetypes that are kinda untested from the general public, such as Furair K9 and Elven Note and variants with Kultun. But before doing that, guys, remember that I am gonna run the most insane Master Duel tournament ever. The top 10 of the December DC Cup will battle against each other for the absolute glory. Stay tuned, because the date will be released soon, and Pedula, roll the intro.
Next year to Japan, baby!
In one moment, a champion. In the other, someone chasing glory. The map unfolds across the planet everywhere. Someone is ready to prove it. Somebody celebrates. Somebody breaks. Everybody wants to compete. So we're doing it for real. Top 10 from the December Duelist Cup go head to head against each other until only one remains. 10 enter, only one leaves. No excuses, no hiding, only one win.
Joshua, so I have seen your recent videos about Draco Tail, and you did test it a lot.
I mean, I've been playing a lot of Draco Tail last format already, and I have a pretty good idea of what the new cards do in the deck already. I mean, I've done my fair share of Draco Tail testing for YCS Dortmund. It's not a secret that it is one of my top decks I'm considering for the tournament. Because I mean, I like the play style of it. It's pretty grindy. I enjoy it a lot, and I do think it's pretty strong. So yeah, I do have a decent amount of experience with Draco Tail in the new format. It's probably the deck out of Burst Protocol that I've played the most next to Radiant Typhoon so far.
And talking about Draco Tail, you did probably realize that in his pure variant, it doesn't really stand a contest against Radiant Typhoon, right? So you will need to mix it at least with the branded. I think right now we could assume that the branded Draco Tail is the standard variant of Draco Tail.
If I say Draco Tail, I basically mean branded Draco Tail. I think it's not just the Radiant Typhoon matchup. I think it's also just the ban list, right? Like one Ketu, one Mululu. I feel like you do need a little bit of help from somewhere in terms of consistency, because those are basically 4 starters out of the deck, and you can only compensate so many ways to fusion summon, right? So I think whether it's the new Albaz with extra copies of Cartesia, and then also like the option for branded fusion, of course, is just a great consistency boost for the deck. So I honestly I expect basically every single Draco Tail at YCS Dortmund to have the branded cards in it now.
Okay, but my main concern about that engine, because yes, you get, I guess, like 6 additional starters. I mean, I guess 4 if you were not playing like the branded, like if you were not playing branded fusion. My main issue with that package is the fact that the White Dragon and branded fusion do conflict with each other a lot, which makes me think, like, is it the right way to do it?
I've been talking about that. Yeah, I've been playing that version, and I said in my video that I don't know if the double branded fusion is 100% set if you really like the new Albaz, and you might just want to play like 3 of the white one instead of one OG. You can play 3 white and then maybe no branded fusion. I've been experimenting with all different kinds by basically. I've tried double branded fusion. I've tried no branded fusion. I've also tried playing one branded fusion just you can search it on follow-up turns when you set up the Fallen and the Virtuous. You don't necessarily want to draw it, but when you start with the Albaz, you have the Fallen and the Virtuous, and then on the opponent's turn, you send Albion, and then you get a branded fusion for next turn, and that can be nice for follow-up. So I think all three of those ways are viable, and I'm not sure what the best one is yet. Actually, I do think it's a little bit of a preference matter as well. I'm not sure if there's a definite correct answer to it.
I did see the one branded fusion in some deck list actually. I did see that there were some people that were testing the monocopy of branded fusion. For the white Albaz, even though it seems an extremely good card when you go first, I did find some concerns. My main point was like, how does it push you going second? I don't feel like the card actually gives any pressure if you don't play the OG. And hence why I would probably...
It's definitely less pressure, yeah. It's definitely less pressure if you don't play the OG. But yeah, I was curious how you stand on that, because like I would, if possible, I haven't made a decision yet what I'm gonna do, but if possible, I would of course prefer to play 3 good draws and no brick. But I'm not quite sure yet if the ceiling isn't high enough for the white Albaz. Of course, you know me as someone who usually likes to go lower ceiling and play it safe, and you often, I know you do the opposite.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I can guess what you were gonna do.
Is that a roast?
No, it's not. I mean, that depends on how you feel about it.
I like combo decks in every shape and form,
Yeah,
and
I
try to comboize every deck. If you give me Draco Tail, I'm gonna.
And I mean, if the OG Albaz is in your deck, then your end boards are stronger. So I figured you'd like it.
Yes, my main concern was in fact that, and I will. I'll give you actually an hint on something that I think might actually overperform, because you did say, I want to have more consistency, right? Now, there is a way to increase your consistency going second.
Ooh, can I guess?
Okay.
I think you're going to say Albion the Shrouded Dragon.
That is one of the cards that I was going to mention. And that is also one of the cards that I was... But there is also, going second, there is something that you can do in order to establish a board and actually make your Albaz way more pressure. And I'm talking about siding multiple Ecclesias.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've been noticing that card is very strong going second, yeah. Because then you get a free special summon, and you also are not locked into anything, so you can still do like SP and stuff if you wanted to.
You can make SP, you can make an XYZ.
Yeah.
That clears the entire opponent board.
Yeah.
You can...
I mean, depending on the matchup, you can also consider playing Alba Lenitus, right? I've seen people do that. Of course, the extra deck in branded Draco Tail now is incredibly tight, and there's like a million different ways on how to do it, because if you play branded fusion, you need certain targets. If you play the OG Albaz, then for example, you want other like fusion targets in there, like Mirror Jade makes its way into the deck for sure. Titanic Lad maybe to summon it in the end phase. There's a million different ways to structure that extra deck now. So it's really hard, I feel like, to fit those kind of utility cards if you want to play like the full branded package.
So my opinion on the package is 2 white, 1 OG. I am actually kind of set on it. The thing is, and obviously the Shrouded Dragon, at least 1 Shrouded Dragon in the main deck. If you want to play Titanic Lad, you need that, unfortunately. And it's not even a bad card. It's like, at least you get a Fallen in the graveyard, and if you go for an Artalion, you can add it back, and then you actually like get in rotation.
Yeah, it's like playing an extra copy of the Fallen of the white without like hurting the restriction of being able to play only 2.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like I do like the card. 1, 2, we will decide on the ratio depending on how many slots are gonna be in the main deck, and if you wanna slightly be above 40 on, you can actually just get a 41, because in my opinion 40 and 41 doesn't make any difference. I was always on that idea. The card...
I mean, in this deck in particular, I guess it's an interesting discussion, because there are some cards in this deck now that you would rather not open, right? So it's not just a straight negative to go over 40.
Yeah.
Like, as always, Draco Tail Trap cards, but also the Fallen and the Virtuous, as good of a card as it is, sometimes I really hate drawing it, because let's say I have the Albaz in my hand already, that's not going to give me anything additionally in my end phase. I already have the Fallen into Virtuous, so I don't need another copy, right? So it's kind of like redundant. So there's a couple of reasons to go over 40. The only other concern that I've had with going over 40 is that there's like, I feel like this format, non-engine in general, is not as important, but there's a couple of non-engine cards that are way better than others, right? And we're talking like Fimena, we're talking Fuwa, we're talking Ash Blossom. Like those cards are significantly better than anything else I feel like you can really have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's pros and cons to go over 40. I could see it.
And okay, so we were talking also about like the push going second of white, right? Like again, it gets kind of fixed by siding multiple ecclesias and maybe a way to clear your board with XYZs, with links. So I do prefer. I actually don't like White Dragon going second. I do like the card going first. Going second, it has like the restriction makes the deck a lot worse into the board.
Yes, not being able to make SP, not even Gulamel, is really annoying sometimes. I agree with that.
There is also, you know, the new Draco Tail, which is level 6, the Sharavis.
Yeah.
Like those cards.
How do you feel about that one? Because extra deck is so tight, and like people will know that I like that card because it's good in the grind game. But do you feel like it's necessary? Because
I did not find the space for that card, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I did try.
It's really hard to make room for it.
I did try it, but I feel like the effect is way too slow for me to utilize it and make it perform. Especially against, like, when you reach that point, like you made a very good point in your video saying if this card had a quick effect, that was actually like the point in which this card would be played. The fact that's not a quick effect.
If it was a disruption, you would just play it over Gulamel, I think.
Yes, but the fact that like it's also the fact that you cannot use the effect of Sharavis in chain of one of your Draco Tail monster, because that means that you need to summon Sharavis, you need to shuffle, and then you need to trigger again Draco Tail, which is not something that you're always able to do, which means that Sharavis has to be one of your first fusions. And usually one of my first fusions is gonna be, like, especially if I'm not locked by anything, one of my first fusion is Secretarian. Because it gives me board presence and gives me a way to recycle my options, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, especially if we're working with the Fallen of White as well, not having the option to make the Shores is gonna, like, over half of your games you're probably not even able to make it, so it's really hard to justify making it. One thing that I was thinking about is if you're not locked by the Fallen of White, that you might be able to make it on turn 1 and just put your Ketu back into the deck immediately so that you can reset it on your opponent's turn for follow-up, because that hasn't always worked for me. Because when like one of your traps gets belled or ashed or dodged, which is very common in this format, especially with Flame, right? Like there's a million ways in every deck to dodge Draco Tail Flame. So most of the time what happens is if you go through Ketu turn 1 and then your Flame gets dodged, you have Flame and Ketu in the graveyard, and then when your second trap resolves, you have to choose between putting a trap back or you can recycle your Ketu, but it gets really awkward from that point on, right? Because you recycle the Ketu, but then you have 2 traps in the grave, and then you can never get back more than 1 trap in rotation.
Yes, exactly. So when you are missing the rotation, you will basically not play Draco Tail anymore.
Yeah, and pretty much, which is kind of rough.
I stand on that point. The other thing that I would like to discuss is a card that you mentioned before, and it's the Fallen and White, like the quick play. So I do like the card, but and I have seen like several lists playing 1, playing 2, playing 3. And the ratio right now is up to the air, because yes, it works very well when you are playing or when you open it with Fallen and White, but standing alone on the card is kind of mid, in my opinion. And
I mean,
like,
I think you definitely play it because you get it for free if you open the new Albaz, right? Like
yes,
you just get it as a free disruption on your end board.
yes,
When you go first. So you definitely play at least one. I think that's out of the question. If you're playing
okay,
Branded Draco Tail, you play one copy of that card for sure.
yes,
And I guess if you play Branded Fusion, you could decide to just keep it at one copy.
mhm,
Because then you can just be like, okay, I have this one copy of the Fallen and the Virtuous, and it's either gonna send it could send like the Dogma Dragon or another Albion to
mhm,
search Branded Fusion, or I can just use the effect to reborn because I have Ecclesia in the graveyard, right? And then it's a solid card either way, but I don't necessarily need to search a second copy with it, right?
yeah,
So I think if you play Branded Fusion, it's completely fine to play one, because especially if you play Branded Fusion, you already have a higher spell trap count than like you would probably want. I think
mhm,
drawing multiple spells with this deck can be very awkward.
mhm,
So I can see playing one Fallen and the Virtues if you have Branded Fusion in the deck. If you want to play without Branded Fusion, then I feel like you need at least two.
yeah. And I felt like it was kind of awkward for me even to open the combination of white and the quick play, because you
Yes.
send Albion and then you have to send a synchro. But then, like, what your Fallen and the white is doing if you're not playing a second synchro? Because yes, you can try to shuffle
Yeah.
back, but if your opponent chains something, it's not gonna shuffle back anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need the more copies of the quick play you play. I think you need to have more extra deck space dedicated to targets for it.
Yes, my main concern was like the
Right.
second synchro, right? Like you kind of, if you want to play 3, I feel like you actually need the second Ecclesia the Black Dragon, because you lose
So
a
that you can
push.
send it with the Fallen and the Virtuous.
Yeah, because you lose a push if and if the card does not shuffle because your opponent chains something, because usually it's gonna be a back row. In this format, it's gonna be most likely a back row that you're gonna target with that in order to bait it.
Yeah.
If it's a monster, it doesn't matter as a card, in my opinion, because monsters don't matter in the current metagame. I feel like
Except for Secretarion, yes.
except for Secretarion, yes. But even then, they could just chain something like a Draco Tail Horn in order to bounce it back, and you still miss the shuffling back. So yes, you get a removal, but you also lose a push, which is a trade 0-0.
Yep.
So I felt also weird because of that. And I was considering a card that has not been played in Draco Tail, and I think maybe Droplet might be better. Yes, you're gonna still play the one copy of the Fallen, but then what about Droplet to replace the other cards? Because Droplet does, in fact, I feel like Droplet does, in fact, play way better than the Fallen into Typhoon, into the Mirror, because it always ensures that your cards resolve, while the Fallen and White can always be interacted with, because the card that you are gonna activate in Chainlink 1 is still gonna be on board.
But how do they stop it? Like, let's say you play against Radiant Typhoon, right? And you have the Fallen and the Virtuous and another spell. How do they still negate your spell?
They don't in that case, but they still have a monster negation, right?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, you're saying like it's worth more to droplet a monster than to pop the continuous trap?
Yeah.
That is, I think that's true if they have the link 2 on the board still.
Yes, I mean they do
Right? That
end on the
depends on
link
what
to.
the
I mean,
standard Radiant Typhoon, because I've seen two ways. I've seen
yes,
people do link 2 on board and then
yes,
pass, or I've seen people do the link 3, the Doom Eagle,
yeah,
with
the
the
Doom
link
Eagle.
2.
Yes,
Right?
I did see that too. Yes.
If 2 is still on the board, then if you pop the continuous trap, they just bring it back. But if they link it off, then I think the Fallen on it is pretty good. But either way, I think in both scenarios, honestly, I think it's a pretty good use case for the card. Like, I think you're getting value out of both in the matchup. I'm not sure which one's better necessarily. I think Droplet on its own, I think Droplet is a better card than Fallen and the Virtuous in this scenario when you're going second. I think the reality is if you didn't get the Fallen the Virtuous for free from Albion most of the time, then you probably wouldn't play it at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that.
Like Fusion, that you just play one copy because you can search it, I think there would be better non-engine in this deck than Droplet.
Like what? Thinking about
like anything
Entraps?
that's a monster.
Yeah, like you were thinking maybe about...
Yeah, anything. Like I like Charmies in the deck, obviously.
Those are the standards.
I don't know if you're already
like
maxing out on those, but
three
like even cards like
Triash.
That's your lineup, like 6 Charmies, 3 Ash. If you already have that, and then you have more room for non-engine?
I do have 3 more slots.
Okay. And over Droplet, I would probably rather play something like... I've been playing around with Bell, because I think Bell is pretty good in the mirror, but mostly going second. But it has applications against Radiant Typhoon if they don't chain block the Crossout.
Yeah.
Not every hand can chain block the Crossout. A lot of them can, but not every. And then I've been testing Mourner, I've been testing Veiler, I've been testing Nib. I'm not sure what the best one is, but I like that it's a monster.
I did not personally like Veiler. I did like Mourner, but Mourner has also like his downs because it makes the win alive, like the Charmer win. For Edumiga, as you explained before, the card is very good, but the fact that you can stop your opponent cross-end phase, it makes a lot of sense for the card to be played right now. So I'm not against Mourner.
Yeah.
Again, like my main concern was like maybe Droplet, because you say, but you say, okay, but you can find mana if it's a monster, right? But like, do you want to find mana against Typhoon? I don't. Like, there is no good spot.
Well, it's not just 5 mana though, right? It's also like mid-game, sometimes you have a Rahu that you can resolve, but you need monsters in hand to send away for it, because you don't always have Draco Tail names.
Yeah.
But also, another concern I have with Droplet is you don't have that many spells, right? Like you, in theory, of course, if you go second and your opponent has the Radiant Typhoon trap, and then you activate Branded Fusion and they chain MST and chain the trap, if you then chain Droplet, that's pretty good. But what if you just like have Droplet and monsters?
I mean, that would be not ideal if you're not playing a card that can banish itself from the graveyard in order to keep a Link 1 in order to add another monster.
You're trying to pill me on Spenta, yeah?
And I think it's time to talk about Spenta. Because the Spenta, also called as a spoon, and in my opinion, Draco Tail is like a soup. You cannot eat it without a spoon.
Okay.
I know, you probably heard the joke already multiple times. Otherwise, you would have laughed, probably.
I've seen it before, yeah. I know you're proud of it.
And why do I like it? Because in the branded variant, you probably noticed that there is not enough names. You need to maximize a lot of names. Like 3 Urgol, I think it's the standard. Even though in a perfect world, 2 Urgula would be optimal, because the second one would come up only in the mirror. The fact that we have Molulu at 1 and Ketu at 1 makes us like do want to play the bad ones more. Because even though 2 Urgula 1 pan was, in my opinion, the standard, now we're going over it, and now we have to play 3 Urgula, and maybe even more than 1 pan, in order to fix the consistency and the name count. I don't like that. I think pan sucks. I do really believe, I am actually not a pan believer. If I could actually cut the card, I would cut it. And
I like pan. I think it's a really good card. But I mean, it's not the perfect card, right? It's like you increase consistency with a card that isn't a starter per se, right? Is what you're probably getting at. Is like, yeah, as a one-of, it's nice. You definitely need one for Rahu and such, but it only makes sense to draw pan if you have a way to fuse it off, which is risky to increase your consistency in that way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like saying like you increase the consistency in Vanquish Soul by adding more fire monsters, right? Which is like not really how it works.
It's really not. I did try several things in Vanquish Soul.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do like. I think the biggest ability that the Magistus cards have is that you can bridge into Lucius, right? I think that is very valuable. Being able to get Lucius from the deck. I'm not sure if it's worth the investment into not just the main deck, but also the extra deck space that I feel like these cards demand is pretty high. Because like what is the package that you're using? I feel like it's at least like 5 cards for the Magistus.
So this is what I was thinking. When I realized that there was a bridge, I was like, okay, what if I don't draw Draco Tail cards going second? Because that can happen, right? Well, it's not optimal, obviously, to not open any Draco Tail cards going second, but your percentage kindly, like, it kind of increases going second because you're going to see the 6th card more.
And you have Charmies, yeah.
Yeah, and also because you have Charmies. So I was not very concerned about it going second. I was very concerned about the going first on how to bridge those interactions. I did notice that the 1-card combo on Fallen and White and Spenta does not play around Nibiru. I did realize that Spenta plus Fallen and White is weak into Nibiru, but Spenta and any other starter in the deck, literally any other starter, and White and any other starter does play around everything. A card that helps a lot to play around the Nibiru would be Fallen and the Virtuous, because you can summon Omega, and if the Nibiru, you can chain the Fallen and the Virtuous on the Omega. But I did find the utility also of Omega going second, because I can use it as an interruption, and then crush the Omega into an opponent monster in order to summon Lucius from the deck in the damage step. And it came up against some yummy Radiant Typhoon variant.
Yeah. I mean, from looking at this, right, I feel like what you're doing is instead of adding cards that work in 2-card combinations, like, you know, what pure branded Draco Tail does to increase consistency is play like more Urgulas, more Pans, and more Cartesias, right?
Yes.
That's how it goes. Those are cards that, like, in your average hand, they will work.
Yes.
But there is hands where you draw Cartesia without Draco Tails, or where you draw Urgulas and Pans without Cartesias, so they're not 1-card combos. You have like Spentas and Zoroa and, well, Crowley not really, but you have Spentas and Zoroa, and those will, like, they will do something on their own. If you completely ignore the rest of your hand, right? Which I think works, but I do also think it comes at a cost, where, because 5 was even too low of a guess. You're playing 7 Magistus cards in the extra deck, right? So I'm just not sure if I'm not saying it's not good, because I can definitely see the power behind it. But this is where our two philosophies are going to clash, because you know what I'm about to say. Like, I just don't know if that ceiling is necessary, because I think you're not going to realize that ceiling in every single game that you play, because on average, you are going to be under a Charmy this format, I think. Like, very often. People are going to play... I mean, Perulia doesn't really matter that much for the Magistus lines, I think.
It's only 2 draws. It's 2 draws, and you can perform the entire rotation for Perulia. So would it be flawless?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the 2 draws from Perulia are not the worst. But you do give them the draws relatively early, and you do have to consider that, you know, if they draw 2 cards with Perulia, there is a non-zero chance that they draw a Fuva, because that's always in their deck. Which is like, I don't know what the chances are. If they draw 2 cards, they might draw Perulia, but basically that's what I'm getting at. Is like, okay, you have higher ceiling, you have more consistency on paper in terms of 1-card combos, but your deck is also weaker into it basically in every game where you don't get to do that, because your grind game is significantly weaker, because your extra deck is so much smaller, right? You have 2 Arthalions, you have only 1 Secretarion, you have no SP, you have less targets for the branded stuff, right? There's just like games where you're gonna miss those cards as well.
But it makes also the Fallen and the White full combo. That's also my point. Like, the Fallen and the White before was not a combo piece. Now you do actually do have it. Like, before you needed Fallen and the White to open with like a Draco Tail. Now you don't.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is 100% true. I just like, I'm not sure if it's statistically, if it matters, because on average, you will have Draco Tails. If you play, let's say you 3 Urgula and you play 1 or 2 Pan because you hate that card,
I do hate
you're
it.
still gonna have, and then maybe a Frixel, you're still gonna have around the like 13, 14 Draco Tail names, plus Rahu, plus Ketu, plus maybe draws from the Charmies when you're going second, or draws from the Shrouded Dragon when you're going first. Like on average, your hands will have Draco Tails.
I don't know if you noticed, but I don't play Frixel.
Yes, I did see that. I did see, and I don't consider it mandatory even if you play Branded Fusion. I think that's okay. I think it's fine to not play Frixel.
But I did consider Frixel because there are some very nice stuff that you can do.
It has some crazy lines with Secretarion where you just print card advantage, especially mid game. I think it's
And
nice.
I think I will show you some GUI stuff you can do. And we can go over this combo together. It can also lock your opponent out of the game. But unfortunately, it does not do it in your turn, while White Albats does do it in your turn. But you need, obviously, to play the bridge in order to do that. Now, in a format of Typhoon that plays board breakers, and in a format of those yummy variants with Typhoon, with the Tri-Brigade, that are, in my opinion, like the best decks around, if you agree with me, right? They don't play a lot of entraps except Charmies, right?
I think specifically for the Radiant Typhoon matchup, a lock with something like Invader of Darkness is an interesting option, yes.
It's not only that. My concern was that Spenta does the Invader of Darkness. Fallen of the White does it in your turn. Spenta does it in your opponent turn. And obviously, if you open any other engine piece, you can do it in your turn. Like any Draco Tail piece means that you can do it in your turn.
Yeah.
What concerns me is that might not be optimal, because not every time I can perform it in my turn. Invader would be always optimal if I could perform in my turn. Otherwise, if I cannot perform it in my turn, my opponent can play in the draw phase and actually outplay me with some very specific end. The end that needs to be still very specific, but there is a chance I can get outplayed after all the fuss that I did in my turn.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that there is probably a better option instead of Invader of Darkness. Maybe we can consider the DDD.
The just Orthros lock them?
Cannot be Orthros because Guigno
has to be level 6 or higher, right?
Yeah.
For Guigno.
So it has to be the other one.
It's also a pendulum, right?
Yeah, it's the pendulum one.
Yeah, Requiem. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're trying to convince me of a higher ceiling engine by telling me it can also floodgate the opponent, Nesh. I don't know.
I mean, we know that there was an history of you floodgating people. I still remember those Mystic Mine era.
No, I don't. I'm not saying that's something you can't do. It's just like it's not what sells me on something. Like if I play Spenta, right? If I'm convinced that Spenta is good, then I might consider doing this, right? But that's not, for me, that's not going to be the reason to play Spenta, is because it can do this, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, let's say that everything I said so far was air bullets, okay? Let's say that everything I said so far, now I'm gonna actually shoot real bullets. Okay. So it's not only the bridge, it's the fact that allows your other cards to be one card combo. There is also, you probably saw the spreadsheet, there is Draco Tail cards that do bridge now if you play this combo into Draco Tail and Branded. Now your Draco Tail ends are not gonna be only Draco Tail ends. If you play Branded Draco Tail and you open only Draco Tail, you are gonna lose against Typhoon. Like, there is no shot that you win against Typhoon going second.
I don't think no shot is true.
Okay, there is, like, okay, who's favorite?
If I have a pure Draco Tail hand against Radiant Typhoon?
Yes.
Do I have non-engine?
I mean, I assume so, yeah. I assume that there is,
And I think
maybe.
I think Draco Tail is favored.
Draco Tail is favored. Like, would you say a 60-40?
I think it's more like 55.
55.
If
Okay.
I
Do you think that's a good
the thing
percentage
about
in a
Radiant
50-round
Typhoon
tournament?
is that like it has Radiant Typhoon has really high quality breakers against Draco Tail,
Yes.
but it cannot really kill Draco Tail, and it also has very little engine. So if Radiant Typhoon doesn't draw a lot of engine, then it's not actually that good against Draco Tail, in my opinion.
Okay, and I can see that happening. But you said 55, which means that Typhoon has 45%.
Mhm.
How is that a good percentage in a 50-round tournament?
Well, because you don't always just open Draco Tail, Nash.
I mean, yes, you don't just open.
That's basically the worst case scenario, right? It's
I mean,
like I
but you have
don't draw
only
any
6
branded cards. I
you have
don't
6
draw
branded
the
cards.
white dragon. I don't draw Shrouded.
But you have 6.
Huh?
You have 6 branded cards. The percentage is around 50%.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, if the percentage of you opening a branded card, it's around like goes around 55%, and you're going first with 5 cards in your hand, and you don't see branded cards. Yes, you can see an amount of non-engine. That can be Bell, that can be Morner, that can be like the branded, like the Fallen and the Virtuous. But those ends consistently will not beat the matchup that you're trying to beat. That's going to be one of the most represented in the room.
Yes.
I don't think you can sit comfortably at a table playing against 5, 6 Radiant Typhoon, going first and knowing that you are not sure to win. And that's my main problem.
I don't know if that's true for game 1. I don't know if so basic. Okay, so what you're saying is because Radiant Typhoon is in the format and Radiant Typhoon is a strong board breaker deck, you need to play a deck that auto wins going first. Right? Is basically your argument.
And in terms of flex spot, we run almost the same flex spot if you play the Magistus cards and you play like Draco Tail branded. Like the amount of flex spot is almost
it's not about the amount of flex spots. Like I know you don't lose much space in your deck by replacing like Urgulas and Pans with the Spenta cards. My problem is more so extra deck, because I actually think if you play this version of the deck, if you go full combo, you win. That is, I'll give you that. If you go full combo, you win, and if your opponent plays no hand traps, then you probably auto win the game going first most of the time, because no matter which engine you draw, you just bridge into the others and you get everything and you beat Radiant Typhoon, right? My problem is what happens when my opponent has a Charmy, for example, which I think even the board breaker, from what I've seen, even the board breaker Radiant Typhoon lists have been using Fuva. And when I am under Fuva with this deck, I cannot go for the full combo. I play less Draco Tail names, so the chances that I can just go like summon Cartesia, activate effect, fuse 2 Draco Tails away, give 1 Fuva draw, and then pass, the chances that I can do that are much smaller. Your hands are going to be much more awkward into Fuwalos because you draw like a Magistus card, a branded card, maybe a Charmy because you play 5 or 6. So you're going to have like those kind of constellations is your average hand, right? Then maybe a branded fusion or a Rahu or whatever, right? And then you get Fuwad when you start, because usually you don't start Rahu with those hands. You start Spenta or you start Fallen of White because you don't want to be locked into fusions yet. Then you get Fuwad. Then you have a Rahu in your hand that you might activate or might not activate depending on the game state. But like you can't realize your full potential of the combo. And from that point on, if you're lucky, you get into a grind game. And in that grind game, I think you're going to be lacking extra deck options.
Okay. So, you did say that like the amount of Urgulas and Pan do not really change the way in which you play around Fuwalos, because the card that do actually change the way in which you play around Fuwalos are Lucias, Faimena, Rahu, and Ketu, right? Like those are the cards that you need to draw. In order
I do think Urgulas and Pans help you play around
only in combination with Rahu, or only in combination with the Faimena.
And Cartesia.
Cartesia, in my opinion, I'll be real with you. I think no matter what, I would probably play the card as a one-off.
Okay.
Because the amount of normal summons is already enough for a 40-card decklist. And I do like to be able to special summon a creature from the deck instead of actually normal summoning it. You probably do know that I am not only a huge fan of this deck in a TCG, but I did play also this deck a lot on Master Duel. And if you don't know, is the reason of why Herman and Luke are playing this deck in Master Duel. Because I was able to find a bridge with Choroso when people were playing Doom Dragon. And I think Choroso was a great discovery for the deck to be able to bridge. And we don't only play around Fua, but we also have to play around Maxi.
Yeah.
And I felt like and I'm saying this from at least like more than 500 games experience in which I am overperforming in Ranked or Master Duel, that the deck is fine into Fua.
No, it's absolutely fine. Like, this is the thing. I very much think this comes down to a personal preference kind of thing, where I understand that these combos are powerful. I'm not saying they're bad. They are definitely not bad. I prefer to have from the start, I like to have a lower ceiling, but then I have a better grind game, and I have a lower weakness to cards like Fualos. That's all I'm saying. And I think ultimately I can't tell you which is statistically better, because I feel like it's close. Because every single time you don't get Fuwad, then this approach I think is probably stronger. But Fualos is in every single deck. And every time you go for I can make the same argument with the Radiant Typhoon from earlier, right? Like, you're going to play 15 rounds, and in every single round, it is to be expected that your opponent has Charmies in the deck. And if you don't draw Ash Blossom, then you are always at the risk of Fuwa resolving. And then when you have very engine-heavy hands in this deck, you are very unlikely to be able to produce a really good half-board into a Mole Charmy. Because right now you're playing 9 Draco Tail names. Like, you very often have 0 names in your hand, and you are forced to bridge into them with the Magistus one. And that requires a lot of Mole Charmy draw.
Or Branded Fusion, right? Because like you could assume that Branded Fusion is also like the 13th reason.
Right, but Branded, I think Branded Fusion, if that's all you have against Fua, I don't think it's that great.
If it's all I have against Fua, I mean, you can go Branded Fusion, set K to activate K to add Lucius, normal summon Lucius, add 5 mana, activate 5 mana, set to trap. If you have another name in your hand.
You need another Draco Tail in hand, and then you're still giving 2 draws, and you're not even playing Sanctifier, right?
Not
so your
in this
Branded
variant,
Fusion,
no. Not in this variant.
That's one example, right? Like, you're by putting, even if you don't even have Magistus cards in your hand in that scenario, you're making your Branded Fusion play worse because you don't have room in your extra deck for Sanctifier, which is a very valuable interruption if you get Fuwad.
Okay,
right?
Then I can just put Sanctify.
In the games where all of these combos resolve, they're absolutely phenomenal. But in the games where you don't resolve them, they might have negative impact on the other cards in your deck.
Yeah.
And I think I think that's just ultimately, from my point of view, a little bit of like a high risk, high reward kind of thing, which is not necessarily wrong. But it's not a playstyle that I personally prefer. Is where I'm getting at, because I can't say that it's wrong. It definitely isn't wrong to do this.
Would you consider this one of the top tier contenders? Would you consider this one of the top tier contenders right now?
Yes, because I think Branded Draco Tail is a top tier contender, and I think this version is not necessarily better or worse. I think it's, if you play this properly, because this is harder than pure Branded Draco Tail in my opinion. If you know all the lines and if you execute all the lines perfectly into hand traps, then I think this deck is on par with Branded Draco Tail, yes.
I heard that you are going to play against Pac in the next days. Is that true?
I asked him to come on stream, yeah.
Good luck, man. You're going to need it.
No, he's going to play this well, I know.
You're going to need it. You're going to see the power. I wish that you would play Radiant Typhoon against him, actually. I want to see that. I'm going to wait for it.
Yeah, I could.
I need you to play Radiant Typhoon. And talking about Radiant Typhoon, I think now we can shift a little bit to the conversation of Radiant Typhoon, how it's going to be played, the flex spot that are going to be played. Because there is a very interesting card that not many people are talking about, but it's something that I really want to touch upon on, and is Super Polymerization.
Okay. Wait, people are not talking about that?
I think that they are touching the like they are. I didn't see a lot of discussions about it. I know that it's
Okay.
a thing.
Mhm.
People are talking about it, but I didn't see like a lot of content around the card, if that makes sense, on YouTube.
Mhm.
Did you do anything about the card? I didn't see that if you did.
I talked about it in my non-engine discussion that I uploaded today. But since I recorded that video, there was a couple other things that people brought up to me that I
Yes.
didn't know when we talked about it at first, like
Yes.
extra targets.
Yes, and that's why I want to touch upon on that. Because Super Poly
Mhm.
was always viable because you could summon Secretarian, but now there
Yes.
is another card that you can summon, considering the fact
Yeah.
that people are going to be on the Black Dragon. Would you like to tell me the card? If they...
Saint Azamina. is the
Saint
card.
Azamina. What a godly card, Joshua. What a godly card.
It's a pretty good card.
When I did the combos
Yeah,
of
this
this
is
deck...
something I would have rated Super Poly higher if I had heard of that target, but when I made my non-engine discussion. Ultimately, I think it only changes for very few decks because the package you need is pretty large for Super Poly if you want to play Saint Azamina. So Saint Azamina is like you need 2 level 6 or higher monsters, 1 fusion and 1 synchro.
Mhm.
So you can take like Ecclesia and the Black Dragon and like Secretarion or Arthalion or Gulamel, whatever they end on. And then it summons Ilia Sylvia from the extra deck, which is an Omni Negate.
Yeah.
And then you can also, if you want to spend another extra deck space,
Yes.
you contribute your opponent's monsters for the light Azamina, right?
Azamina the
big,
Saint, I think it's the name. Let me double check.
no, I think that one's just called Azamina. Like that is the entire name.
Oh,
It's
that is
just
the entire
Azamina.
name. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah.
just Azamina.
So it removes 4 body alone. And then if you commit anything, you can turn the Azamina and another monster into SP.
Yes. So it is pretty strong. But you do need, I mean, if you're playing Super Poly, you still want to play Garura, Mud Dragon, and Secretarion. So that is at least 6 extra deck slots.
I'm not sure about
which
Garura.
Is okay.
I think
Fair enough.
is...
You know, okay, sure. But I think it's hard to enter a YCS with Super Poly in your main deck without Garura. Because you're not only playing against like the meta decks all day, right? There you can definitely walk into something where you need Garura, I think.
I can see that.
But it's fair, yeah. Okay, against Radiant Typhoon, they often have different types. Against K9, they have different types. Fair enough. Maybe you don't need Garura. Okay, but then it's 5 slots. All right, that's already something that, for example, Branded Draco Tail can't do that.
No, it definitely cannot do that.
Yes. So I mean, okay, the Secretarion you already have in your deck, so it's only 4, but it's really hard. So Radiant Typhoon can. If you're not playing Pot of Extravagance, I suppose you'd have to decide, because I've seen some people play Pot of Extravagance, some people play Super Poly. I've not seen people do both because it's kind of annoying. If you draw Super Poly,
like I understand your love for the pot cards, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, I haven't been playing Extravagance in my Radiant Typhoon list
thank
personally.
God.
So it's not. I'm not saying it's staple. It's just something to consider because people have been playing that card.
Oh. Okay. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I can see that. No, actually, I don't. But I will understand that. But I... okay, so... I mean, I guess Droplet in that deck. Like, we're talking about Droplet. We're talking about Super Poly. We're talking about, like, the 6 Chummies. Maybe a little bit less than 6. But I think 6 Chummies, 6 Chummies should be there.
I think Charmies are solid in that deck. It's something that annoys me personally is that you can't really use them very well when you go first.
I mean, I like Fua because it's a
Draco
win.
Tail, for example. Draco Tail can do that well because you can just fuse them off.
Yeah.
In the Radiant Typhoon deck, it's more like, yeah, maybe you can send them for Droplet or discard them for Super Poly.
Yeah, so I can...
And also, I think that deck, sometimes you want non-engine that you can draw into with, like, Vision or Mandate, right?
Yeah. That makes absolutely... I mean, for sure the Trifua, I think those are mandatory to play.
Like, yes, the Fuva, I think, is just like a somewhat of a requirement, but the Perulias in that deck, I've been siding them in that deck.
To be honest, I think it's very fair. I'm actually not against that deck. I do believe that like the ceiling is quite lower, so you will need something to draw. So I do
for pure
totally
Radiant
back it up.
Typhoon.
Yeah, for pure Radiant Typhoon. And like those cards, Super Poly, Droplet, I'm not sure like if you want to play any other breaker on Entrap, but like there are something to talk about. One of them is Evilly, and then we have the solid Bell, Mourner, and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on those?
I've been struggling to fit enough like low impact hand traps, quote unquote, to make it worth. Like I've been feeling weird about drawing, let's say Mourner, right? Like I've tried Mourner in other decks, also in Draco Tail,
Yeah.
with like a couple of Charmies and Ash Blossom and then Mourner. And often like it's just kind of likely that Mourner is your only hand trap.
Yeah.
Besides Charmies, like okay, you might resolve a Charmy, but then like okay, you have a Mourner in your hand. Sick. Like what exactly are you hoping the Mourner is gonna do?
Mid combo, because that's gonna be mid combo after you charm them if they're actually.
You might draw into it, right? Yeah. So the most realistic approach I found with it against, let's say, Draco Tail is I think Mourner is probably best early on like the Fallen and the, of White or the Ecclesia. Well, not the Ecclesia. I know they can change it. The Fallen of White.
Yeah.
And just hope they don't have a way to fuse. Because I felt like if you let them do the Fallen of White, they get the Ecclesia, they make the Synchro, they get the Cartesia, they activate the Cartesia, they fuse Draco Tails away, they make Arthalion, then you Mourner. It does something, but I'm not sure if you're really winning in that position.
Yeah, I don't think so. I agree with you.
Right. So unless you have Fuwa active, but then you also don't need the Mourner, right? So it's kind of like whatever. So in Radiant Typhoon, I ran into the same problem. Like I just couldn't really fit enough of these cards so that they would really make sense. I feel like.
Oh, so you're backing up my point when I was talking about Droplet. But you asked, like, but you said, Nash, but why don't play more Entrap? Because I don't have, like you have like 13 slots now. I think this format is around 13, 15 slots.
Yes. In Radiant Typhoon, personally, I think it's like you do play 3 Fuwas. I like Droplet in that deck a lot. Because it has so many spells and it's great this format in general to like dodge Mandate or dodge Flame. I think Droplet is great in that deck.
And so evenly at that point.
Evenly is if you think the deck wins very hard going first and you don't care if you have like a dead Evenly in your hand, then I think Evenly could be okay. I'm not sure how I feel about Evenly in general because I think the card is risky against Radiant Typhoon. But I guess if you're playing Radiant Typhoon yourself, you have ways to make sure it resolves.
Yeah.
Unless they end on Totem Bird, then you need Droplet.
Yeah.
But even Droplet, you know, it's not always guaranteed.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I believe that. And that's also one of the reasons why I do like Sanctifier in some variants and I would like to play the Frixel. Because I am very scared of someone being on evenly. It will depend on what's gonna happen, like in the next like regionals or like the first events after the set gets released.
I guess we do have some regionals this weekend, right? And then we can maybe see a little bit. But I think evenly from what I've seen so far, evenly is a meta call that some people have been trying to make.
Then Sanctifier is the correct choice and Frixel should have been the main deck instead of Alba Lenatus.
It could be, yeah, it could be. I mean, there is a world where you could just play Sanctifier without Frixel because if you have your combo going first, you can make a Sanctifier with just the Ecclesia in your hand, right? Or the Cartesia. If they go battle phase, you could just say like activate Cartesia, make Sanctifier.
Yes, I can do that.
So that would be that would also be more reliable because you don't always have branded fusion, right? And you might not even want to activate the branded fusion because you want to do the synchro plays. You could, in theory, rely on just hard making Sanctifier.
I can see that. I think it's definitely a viable option. I mean, Sanctifier, it's basically like comes from one card, Ecclesia the Black Dragon. So you get a Sanctify from there.
Pretty much, yeah.
So talking about, like you said, pure. You said that we were talking about pure Typhoon, right? There is also another card that it's gonna be sided in Typhoon that beats Draco Tail, and it's gonna be Fissure. Now, Fissure has been a very strong talking point recently of how the deck is gonna win against like the Draco Tail variants. And I did find some option for Draco Tail in order to beat Fissure. And one of them, I'm gonna give you a list of those, and then you tell me what you think about those. The first one is Pancratops. The second one, Spoon can keep the XYZ, but no, it's not like Spoon can keep the XYZ. Spoon can search Zoroa normal summon, keep XYZ in order to pop Fissure, but obviously they do have a board to back the Fissure up.
That only works if they play, right?
Yes, if they play, it never works. And then we do have.
I don't hate the Pancratops. Can Pancratops pop your own cards?
No, I don't think so. I can double check right now just to make sure. No, I cannot pop your own cards.
Okay, but like what I like about Pancratops, I guess, is that it covers the dimensional fissure, but it also works if they don't have it. It still outs mandate, right?
Yeah.
Like worst case, it's that. I guess the only downside is if they have a way to put up the main deck Varurun.
Exactly.
The monster negate,
yeah,
right?
I mean that's the combo, right? Like they have it in the graveyard or on the field. Usually I saw it on the field.
They probably have it, but like in that case, maybe you could say like Pancratops becomes really good if you pair it with a Charmy, right? Because then there's a chance that they don't full commit.
Yeah. That one
right. So that's okay. The biggest problem with the Charmies, I guess, is that they might just activate Dimensional Fissure and pass, and Pancratops can solve that problem.
No.
If they put a monster on the board. If they just pass with no monsters, then Pancratops does nothing, I guess.
Right. That would be Fenrir, but Fenrir, in my opinion, is too slow.
Fenrir will not work if you don't have a Charmy beforehand. Yeah. Especially not earlier. Like if you have Fuwa, Fenrir is still not enough.
Yeah. While Pancratops, I do feel like the card is enough on his own.
Yeah, no, I could see Pancratops because I think Pancratops has applications. Like once again, it's solid in the matchup even if they don't have Fissure. And honestly, you will probably find other matchups where Pancratops is solid. Because it's just randomly good against whatever. Like you play into like Odeon or something, then it might be okay. I've been thinking about like Cosmic Cyclone.
Cosmic Cyclone, that's interesting. Why?
Because I think it's a very good card against Radiant Typhoon in general. Because you just activate the theory behind it is you activate a spell, they chain MST, and then chain the trap to negate your spell, and then you chain Cosmic on the trap. And then if they don't want to lose the trap forever, they have to self MST it. So the Cosmic then trades with double MST and the trap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the only problem is against Dimensional Fissure, they don't care about your spells, right? They don't do anything to them. Right? They just say like, yeah, okay, resolve your Rahu.
Yeah. I can see that.
So if they have the full board plus Dimensional Fissure, I don't know if there is a card.
I don't think
the only way you can win that, in my opinion, is if you had like Fuwa beforehand, and that's why they don't go for Magala, and that's why they don't have Varurun, and so Pancratops can work.
That's a valid point. I like that.
And so if you're playing 5 or 6 Charmies anyways, then I think the Pancratops could be a valid, because you have more chances to draw it, and it's more likely that they don't go for the full board, and then it could work.
And now on the last pawn, about the side deck in terms of Radiant Typhoon, because we did talk about like some options in the main deck, right? Except like again, like we spoke about it. Before moving on the next pawn, I would like to have your thoughts about Hina. How many Hinas?
I'm a big fan of the card, but I'm not sure if I would play it.
We actually play it?
Huh?
Like actually play it?
I'm not sure if it would be in my side deck if I wouldn't main deck it.
Oh,
Is what I'm
okay.
trying to say.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I would main deck it, and I'm not sure if I don't main deck it if it's in my side deck. But I like the card a lot. I like the card a lot because it does a lot of things. I like
Shina.
that it's good non-engine going first and second. That is something that a lot of other good non-engine doesn't do this format, I think. Like, you look at Charmies, those are mainly good, only good going second. You look at cards like Droplet, those are also kind of mediocre going first. They still work, but they're not great. And Shina is a really good compromise, I think. I just don't know if it has priority over more consistency or actual, like, reliable board breakers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. But
Because it's just like, it's a really good card, but it doesn't have like a specific application in this format, I feel like.
feel like it's in the mirror. In the mirror comes up. The Shino.
It definitely comes up. You always find a way to use it, but like, does it win you the game when it happens?
I mean, I did see... I did watch a lot of mirrors. I did see the card performing very well. Does it win you always the game? No, it does not win you always the game.
No non-engine does that, to be fair.
But I felt the card was extremely good. I was actually considering
I like to hear that, because I played it and I thought it was really fun to play with. And it also, I think one thing I really like about that card is that it has a lot of skill expression, I feel like.
Yes.
It creates super weird game states that I think if you just have more practice than your opponent, then it can win you the game just based off of that. So I think it has a lot of like hidden win percentages that you don't see, because you always think like, oh, if my opponent plays this perfectly, then the Shina doesn't do anything here. But in practice, you will definitely find spots where your opponent doesn't play it perfectly, and then the card is really good.
Yeah, and that's why I really did like the card. Like you just explained the point of why I like the card.
Yeah.
Moving on to the last card for Radiant Typhoon Pure Variant. A card that was probably in your nightmares back in the day. The card that made you wake up sweating. Denko motherfucking Sekka.
Yeah, that card is very good against it.
What do you think about it in Radiant Typhoon?
In Radiant Typhoon or against Radiant Typhoon?
In Radiant Typhoon against Radiant Typhoon.
Okay, I've been thinking about that card in general because I think it's so good against Radiant Typhoon.
Yes, I do agree.
I was just like, I was not sure, like which deck to play it against, to play it in, where if it's not Radiant Typhoon itself, I guess. I think it's strong. I think the only problem with it is that it only really plays in 3-card combos, right? Because you normal summon it going second, you don't have the normal summon for your other Radiant Typhoon, so you need a way to get MST into the graveyard beforehand.
It doesn't work.
If you have just Chant and Denko, that doesn't play, no. Because you can't special summon the Radiant Typhoons.
So you need an MST. Yeah, it's 3-card
You need MST engrave to summon the other guys.
Yeah.
So basically, it's always Denko and a 2-card combo. It can be MST plus one of the small guys. It can be any quick play plus Crossout or something like that. But you need, after you normal summon Denko, you need at least 2 more cards to play. Which is not unlikely because you're playing a lot of engine in that deck.
Yeah.
But it's also not going to work every time. And also, it does not answer something like Totem Bird yet, or it doesn't answer the main deck Varurun to negate your monster effect, right? So you still require a decent amount of cards to play with next to the Denko Sekka. It also loses probably on the spot if they have Shina in hand, because then it just returns to your hand. You wasted your normal summon, and then all the back row is alive again. So I'm not sure if I would play it in the mirror, but I've only done theory on it.
Okay. I did quite like the card, but I can see that your concerns are very real regarding that situation.
Yeah. So. I think another card that's interesting, but I don't know what deck can play it, is the Anti-Magic Arrows.
Mermail. With the new penguins.
But I'm not playing
First penguin.
There's a lot of cards that I think are really strong this format, but I just don't know which deck can play them because they
Shoot
just
me
don't
some
work
go.
in
Shoot me some go.
anti-magic arrows, for example. I think
Uh-huh.
Denko Sekka is also insane if you have a deck that can consistently combo without normal summoning ever.
Mhm.
I think Retaliating Sea is also pretty strong still against Draco Tail, but like
It's
most
very
decks,
weird as a card. In my
yeah, it's
opinion.
weird, but you also need a deck that like doesn't care if it stays on the field.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because today I actually shooted the end traps and board breaker. A little bit late, but I did that.
Mhm.
And I was talking about how good it's Retaliating Sea, but like the format that's being required doesn't make any sense to be played. Because the decks
I
that can
like the
play the
card.
card.
I think it's good against Draco Tail. I just think it's like there's not many decks that can comfortably play it.
Then another strong point in favor of the Spenta variant. It does not activate a spell until very, very late.
Yeah, I mean most versions, like even the Albaz stuff, they do a lot before the retaliating. I don't think it's about like the fact that it doesn't end your opponent's turn, or it doesn't make them pass on nothing. But I like that it still takes out a lot of resources. When you catch the Rahu with it, they still lose 2 trap cards from it, and then the monsters get banished, and the Rahu gets banished, and you have a monster on the board, and their board is weaker. So I look at it from like another perspective of like it makes their board weaker, not it makes them unable to play.
Okay.
I guess the problem with the Magistus stuff is that they have a monster negate for it if they really care
I
about
guess
it.
if I touch the point on if I touch the pawn for Radiant Typhoon side deck, because I don't have any other side deck to be honest. I'm out of side deck for the Radiant Typhoon. If you have any other card that you would like to share, I would like to have your thoughts on it.
Against Radiant Typhoon?
In general, Radiant Typhoon, a good card to side that people are not really taking in consideration. Like I don't know, maybe a Shrouded Dragon. I don't know, maybe a something around those lines.
I've not been playing Shared Ride in anything. I guess in Radiant Typhoon you could play Shared Ride, but only if you play non-engine that you can draw with it, I think. Otherwise I don't love it. No, I've been mainly messing around with spell trap removal against them. Like I've been trying stuff like Double Cyclone, Cosmic Cyclone, just ways to deal with the trap card. Because I feel like the board is breakable if you turn off like the 2 or 3 MST Omni Negates.
Okay. And then I guess I can talk about a side deck still for Draco Tail. It's something that people know. Draco's Mind.
I think that card is really strong. Yeah, I've been liking it. I've been testing with it.
It's kind of weird, right? In an MST format to set a counter trap. Like, I'm not a huge fan
yeah,
of
but you have
Judgment
so
right
much
now, for
backer,
example.
right? Like, okay, sure, they MST it. You don't really lose much from that. It's not like the game ends because you lost one of your back row to MST. You still have the rest of your board.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I've been messing around with just siding more consistency for going first, just to make sure I could play. But I do think Dragon's Mind, like for example, if let's say you end up playing, if you only play 3 Charmies, like you only play Fuwa in the main deck, for example, right?
Yeah.
Then, and you side in 3 cards for going first, obviously,
Yeah.
because you need to take out the Fuwalos every time. Then I think I would personally prefer to play some consistency over 3 counter traps.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be caught in hands where I don't have a play. So like that could be extra copies of the Shrouded Dragon or extra copies of Cartesia, or I guess if you're playing the Magistus version, it'd be different because you're not trying to rely on 2-card combos, right? For you, it would make, I think for the combo heavier versions, it would make more sense to side stuff like Called by the Grave or Crossout or Talents.
Called by the Grave is kind of, you know, I really like Crossout in the side deck right now, but Called by the Grave is kind of weird to me.
Because you don't want to Called by a 5-mana?
And it's not only that, but it's also like Radiant Typhoon being a board breaker deck. Yes, like the only card that I really...
You probably wouldn't want to side Called by for Radiant Typhoon.
Yes,
but then all you'd have to do is you'd have to make sure you have another card in your side deck that works against Radiant Typhoon instead, right? Like if you have, let's say you have Imperm or Mourner in your side, you can just put that in, right?
While instead in the mirror, or like in the mirror, I also don't want to have Called by because of 5 mana, as you mentioned it. Like Called by would only be for what, like Fuwalos and Ash Blossom? and Ash Blossom is not that threatening when they are going second and I'm going first.
I think if you have called by and a play, I think you are very likely to win though.
Yes.
Like even if you do your plays and you don't want to call by their 5 mana, so you set it. I think holding it for their turn as a defensive card is also really strong.
While Crossout, I
Like
feel
if
like
they try really hard to resolve one fusion summon through your flame and whatever, and then you just called by the Urgula or something, that's really strong.
Yeah. While Crossout instead, I felt like it was way more versatile going second too, and that's why I do really like.
But you do keep the one Fuwa in the deck then?
No, if I'm going second, no.
No, if you're going first, I mean for Crossout.
Yes, you probably should.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's Draco Tail.
I think it's okay.
I mean, it's Draco Tail. I can deal with one Fuwa in my hand.
Yeah. No, that I agree. In Draco Tail, I think that's reasonable.
And going second, like you can stop a flame, you can stop a sting. I feel like you can stop even a 5 mana if you like start with your 5 mana, so you don't really care if you can cross out later their 5 mana. So that's why I do like a lot more the card than actually Call by the Grave. One last card I want to touch upon in terms of side decking, and then we can move to the next and last topic. Actually, no, we have 2 more topics to talk about. Is Droll, Lockbird, and Nibiru, I guess. We can talk about both. So, what do you think about Droll in the current format? And what do you think about Nibiru? Because Nibiru, every time I analyze the card, every time I do combos for my deck, on paper is always trash. Then you go to an event, and they always play into it. You are a very seasoned and experienced player.
It's not always like it's in the spreadsheet lines in a tournament.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I
think Nibiru is the kind of card that in modern Yu-Gi-Oh often feels like it shouldn't be good, but then you go to a tournament and it ends up being better than you think. In this current format, I think Nibiru is okay.
Yeah.
It's the kind of card that will not win you most of the meta matchups on the spot. Like, for example, Draco Tail, you can usually nib them now because they have longer combos now. But even if you do, they still have a lot of setup. You know, if they start with Albaz, they have the traps, they have the Fallen and the Virtuous, they have a 5 mana in hand. So it's like the Nibiru does something, but it doesn't win the game on its own. You still have to work to win.
Yeah.
But it does one thing that I like in the Draco Tail mirror, which is it gets rid of Secretarion Dragon. I think that is valuable. And I also think that Nibiru is one of the best non-engine when you go first and you make a half board. So I've been considering to play Nibiru in Draco Tail just because of that. Because, you know, from the talks we had earlier, I'm currently playing a more like lower ceiling version. So my board going first is not as auto win. And so when I have a Nibiru in my hand, that can really help. Right? Like I have my Draco Tail interruptions, but maybe they can play through it. But then I can nib and then I win the grind game. That's kind of like the plan, right?
Yeah.
So I've been considering it. I'm not sure if I'm going to make room for it yet, but it's an option. In general, if you're not playing that sort of approach, I think it's more of a side deck card. And even then, I'm not sure. Like, I think it depends how popular. I mean, we're going to talk about Yummy in a second, I guess. But against those decks, I think it's a phenomenal card.
Yeah.
And I think having it in your side deck to cover those matchups could be valuable because you always have the option to side Nibiru also for going first. So I think it's a solid option. For Droll and Lockbird, I'm not sure how I feel about it because I think it's an option more for like niche matchups. And I don't like I'm gonna play 6 Charmies. And I don't really love pairing Droll with Charmies. I've done it before because it was necessary in the format. Like, for example, Ryzeal Mitsurugi. There was like no other option. Like, of course, you played Fuwa, Purulia, and Droll because those were pretty much the only win conditions going second.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't really see a deck in the format that you have to Droll or you lose. Which makes me not want to play Droll if I'm playing Charmies, personally.
And I do agree on you in the main deck, right? Like, Droll in the main deck might not be that good, but I felt personally against Radiant Typhoon, if I'm going first and I have Droll, it's mostly an auto win.
Going first, yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure.
And then going second, it does not always open optimal. Sometimes like there are combinations of Megala Chant in which like you want to play in the main phase, for example, and Droll goes crazy in those scenarios. Or like they
Yes.
start with a Swen. Like, and that's why, and that's what makes me wonder if the card is actually better than people think. But I'm actually theorizing over it. I did decide it sometimes against Radiant Typhoon in my testing, and it was good when I draw it. Not always good, but like mostly good, I would say. Like I would say 80% of the times was genuinely a good card. And if you tested the match, like if you tested Radiant Typhoon, do you feel like your deck can always play in the draw phase or like mostly in the draw phase, or there are very awkward ends or most of your ends do need to play in the main phase in order to optimize those?
It can definitely not always play through Droll. There's definitely hands where you need to do a Swen or a Eldam first before you can do anything. I mean, anything. If you don't draw Crocea, then you have to make a search for it, and that search has to be in the main phase.
Okay, so
because you cannot the chant, which is a quick play, that one you can activate in draw phase, but you can't search Crocea with that because it searches level 4 or lower. So if you're searching Crocea, you have to search it in the main phase. The alternative, if you have chant, is you can search Megala and then summon Megala in main phase first action and then activate a quick play spell to then trigger Megala, but that quick play spell also likely searches, right? So you would still play into Droll.
And how does the deck work into draw?
I think in those scenarios, I think against the average Radiant Typhoon hand, I think Droll is pretty strong. But the problem is that I think they have a pretty strong chance to have a hand that's good into Droll, and we're talking, I think in total at least 7 cards that beat Droll, which is Crocea, Called By, and Fissure. Because if they open Crocea, they likely do it in draw phase. If they open Fissure, then you're fucked anyways with Droll. And if they open Called By, I guess it doesn't matter which hand trap it is. But,
would you defissure instantly if you open the Fissure? Because I saw, I mean, I'm not a Radiant Typhoon expert. I did test the matchup and I did play slightly the deck. But when I played against those like people that were playing Radiant Typhoon, maybe for experience, maybe because they didn't know the lines very like perfectly, but they did not activate Fissure instantly.
I personally don't see a reason not to do that.
Okay.
Because I think Droll and Lockbird is like a relatively popular side deck card still.
Okay.
Like, okay, you might get lucky and your opponent activates the Fissure at the end of the main phase, but then the point still stands. Like, okay, you drolled them, but they activated Fissure. Like, are you winning the game? Probably not. Right?
No, probably not.
Like, okay, you resolved your Droll, congratulations, but there's a Fissure. So
yeah, I can.
So it's like it's a card that you side in. You hope it's good, but then there still is a lot of outs to it. It doesn't even auto win you the game because they might have good answers to it, and then you're also siding a card that has anti-synergies with the other, I think, best card in your deck against the matchup, which is Purulia.
Okay, so you think that Purulia is better than Droll against Radiant Typhoon?
Yes.
Okay. We can touch the last pawn. I mean, the last 2 pawns, I guess. The last 2 pawns, again, we're talking about Radiant Typhoon Pure. Now, let's mix it with some spice. You probably saw the insane amount of posts of Trifunoski. I mean, and if you did, like, they probably, like, came in your feeds because, like, the dude has been posting a lot about his variants, like Radiant Typhoon, Tri-Brigade, blah, blah, blah. Did you look into the archetype, into the deck, the way it plays?
Well, I understand how they play. They very much don't fit my playstyle or my idea of what a deck what makes a deck good. So I don't really believe in them, but I see their power once again, but I don't. One of the main things that bothers me is when I'm looking at it from the perspective of pure Radiant Typhoon. I think you're making a deck that is actually very strong into Multrami Fuwalos, very weak into Multrami Fuwalos. and that's basically the thing that already throws me off.
Yeah.
But they do have a higher ceiling, 100%.
I mean, you're
Like,
not
they
enhancing,
have...
but you're not enhancing like the lowest points of a deck, right? Like when you do that, because I feel like if you are implementing a bridge, if you are implementing like a sub archetype in your deck, you're trying to fix a problem, not to create one.
Yes, and honestly, the way I've experienced this deck is like, if Pure Radiant Typhoon goes full combo, I don't think you need to fix that.
Yeah.
I think the deck makes a very strong board. Like, yes, you still have to play a little bit, but realistically, if you resolve all that, if you have 2 or 3 MSTs, you have the trap, you have your links, you have maybe a totem bird, maybe some of your level 9s in rotation, you have a Crocea in your grave, and you have the new quick play spell set that revives it on your opponent's turn, because that's usually how I try to play it, is like I try to activate that, chain MST to reset it, and then that's when I do Crocea, Chainlink 1, Elation, Chainlink 2 in the graveyard to reset. And then on the opponent's turn, I have the quick play spell to revive the Crocea. I think that board wins most of the time.
I do personally agree with you. So, talking about for the people that don't know about what they do, they go sprint, send the Spring Guns kit. They send the Tri-Brigade kit, send the Spring Guns kit, Reborn kit, and from there they can actually like bridge into several. They can bridge basically from there, like into Yummy. I think it was into Yummy, right? Because I did see the combo. I don't exactly remember like all the steps of the combo. I don't know that like the key points are sprint and the kit effect.
There's multiple ways to do it. You can bridge into Yami if you want to, but you can also bridge into Tri-Brigade with the Tri-Brigade Link monster, the Mauser, because that I think needs Beast Warriors or Beast, or like the Tri-types. And that means the Radiant Typhoons can make it if you're not locked into Wind yet, so you have to do it before you resolve Crocea. But that way you can go into you can get into Tri-Brigade. You can get into Yummy as well. I'm not sure what the Link 1 is that you bridge into. Probably a Link Karibo with Nerval or something. I'm not sure.
I did see Julius doing that. I did a test against Julius recently in a ranked, and he was doing that. Okay, so let's talk about the bridge. How do they bridge? So they bridge using Arm Mauser from Typhoon in order to go into Tri-Brigade, Tri-Brigade into Omen, link away the Omen in order to get into Capsi Yummy Way, and then the Fergit can special summon Capsi. And those are one of the several bridge, and the other one is using Sprint in order to bridge into Tri-Brigade, that bridges again using Omen into Capsi. So this is the bridge. What do you think about it?
I mean, I don't like it. I think it's that what I'm looking at is weak to Fuwa, it's weak to Perulia, it's weak to Nibiru, it's probably weak to Droll in some capacity. So it's basically like, okay, if you're going uninterrupted, then you win the game. But in reality, usually you will see one of those cards. Like, realistically, if you're playing Radiant Typhoon and your opponent doesn't have Perulia, Fuwa, or Droll, then you probably just win the game with pure Radiant Typhoon. I think there's formats and points in time where this makes sense. Like, I think, for example, Mitsurugi Yami was one example where it made a lot of sense, because I think those two decks complemented each other's weaknesses really well. For example, the Mitsurugi cards were actually quite solid into Fuwa, which was a problem for Yami, right? So the deck was like, Fuwa was still good against that deck, but there was sometimes solid half boards you could make, right? And I think this is mainly something that helps going second, I suppose. Like, you have higher ceiling going second. I think it helps. I think going first, it's not great to just add more and more ceiling to your deck in this current format, because quite frankly, I think pure Radiant Typhoon is good enough. I don't like adding a weakness to Fuwa or Nib to Radiant Typhoon. I think the deck is fine. But that is also what I'm basically expected to say about this. So like, this is nothing too crazy.
I mean, I did expect to. I mean, I don't know why do I expect maybe a different take sometimes. Like like sometimes like I
this
do.
Is obviously what I was gonna say.
Like,
but maybe you have. Am I wrong on this? Like, do you think this solves a problem for like if you're
no, I
looking at
think
it from
it
the Radiant
sucks,
Typhoon
bro.
perspective?
Like, I actually believe thinking some hard copium. Like,
okay.
Like,
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad deck because once again, I think it's similar to what we talked about earlier when we compare pure Draco Tail to like adding more ceiling to it. There is going to be games where this is better. Like, not your opponent does not always have Fuwa or Perulia, and also going second, this is scary. When I sit there with my pure Draco Tail deck and I make my fair board, and my opponent has all these engines in their deck, it's good. It's probably a higher chance to beat me than pure Yami or pure Radiant Typhoon or whatever, right? So it's not, and this is how it so often is in Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like there's not one thing that's strictly better than the other in every single aspect. Like, there will be games where this is better than pure Radiant Typhoon.
So we're
but
saying,
I also think there will be a lot of games where you would rather be playing pure Radiant Typhoon.
Yeah, I do totally agree with you. I feel like it did not improve the playstyle of the deck. When I played Draco Tail with Magistus and Branded, I felt like it was a better Mitsuyami. While if I'm playing,
from my perspective, also makes a little bit more sense, right? Because what you said earlier, like, I can see those points better. I can see, like, okay, Spenta, yes, Spenta gives you ceiling going second. Spenta also gives you more consistency going first because it's one card combos, which Draco Tail doesn't really have. So it helps the deck in that way. Like, I can definitely see that. Here, I just feel like we're doing this because we want to play Yummy at any cost, right?
Yeah, like it could be Tri-Brigade Typhoon, but I feel like Typhoon is just enough.
From my perspective, yes. I think Tri-Brigade. I think Radiant Typhoon, especially going first, is a strong enough deck, and going second, I think having non-engine instead of these bridges is also fine.
Yeah, like I do totally agree with you on that. So I think we could scrap the deck and say like it's just if you want to cope.
I think it's a playstyle. I think ultimately it's a playstyle that I don't have, but other people do, and that's fine.
That's gonna give you like the buys in the tournament. I feel that. I get it. I get it. It's gonna be fine, bro. Like, I get it. You cannot say that, but if they're gonna give out free wins, like, who am I to stop them?
Dude, it's not even that's the problem, right? It's not a free win. You say that, and then you play against it, you lose the die roll, you don't have Fuwa or Perulia, and then you see the whole experience of the combo. You watch the whole cutscene,
very upsetting.
And you just lose to it.
Yeah, like playing against Plant. Very upsetting.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
The ultimate Plant experience. No wonder Julius was on that shit. And for the last deck, I think I really want to mention. I mean, like, maybe we can touch like slightly the point on Lunalight before going on that. I think Lunalight is a very good meta call. What do you think about that?
I agree, and also kind of disagree at the same time. I don't know. It's just that there's something else about Lunalight that I dislike, and that's that you're always at the mercy of your opponents, whether they're prepared or not. That's how I feel about it when you're playing a 15-round tournament. And you have to go 13-2, right, at a YCS these days.
Yeah.
To make top 8. So you're basically hoping that at least 13 out of 15 opponents like are not prepared for Lunalight. And of course, that is a simplified assumption of like, if they're prepared, you lose. If they're not prepared, you win, which is not always true. Like, you can beat someone who has an out to Liger because your board is strong enough. Like Paguska SP, it's not free even if they play Titaniclad. But it's like, the way I've experienced playing against Lunalight from my perspective is that if my deck has a game plan into it, it feels so much easier. And it's not necessarily about like when they resolve the full combo, they win, because that is true, right? Like, if they go first, they full combo, they win.
Even and I don't think like the charmies are that big of a deal, right?
Not really. If your opponent is not prepared, then definitely not. But if your opponent has outs, then I think the charmies can matter. But it's also, I think you lose a lot of percentages when you go second when your opponent's deck has an out. Because and this is something, I've been in both situations before. I've played a deck that had no out to Liger Dancer, and I went first. And then I've played a deck that had an Out to Liger Dancer and I went first. And the difference between those two is massive, because when you go first and you have no Out to Liger Dancer and they start playing, you know that you have to stop everything.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, if one Liger touches the board, you lost on the spot, right?
Yeah.
And that is so scary when you go first, because they might have like a heavy poly in their hand or whatever, and shit is going down immediately, right? But if you play one out in your deck, you can be so much more chill with your interruptions. You can interrupt them so much more effectively, because you can be like, okay, if they spent their entire hand to summon just one Liger, I can beat that no problem. Do you get me?
I get you, but I cannot like there is an out in Radiant Typhoon that's not played.
Great Fly.
Oh, the link to.
Yeah.
Yes, that's an out actually. But like wait, but how do you protect it?
Gossip Shadow.
Because Gossip Shadow does not stop the effect, it changes the effect.
Yes, that works on Liger.
I actually did see this card played, but I did not realize that it was an out to Liger.
People don't play it. I found it. Well,
I
at
know, I
least
did see it.
I haven't seen anyone else play
I
it
did
yet,
see this
but
card played. I actually did see this card played, but I
Yeah,
did.
I talked about it like last week.
Okay, that's
on
probably
stream.
why. Because like I saw
But
it a couple of days
other
ago.
people might have also found it. I don't know. I'm not claiming it, but I did find it during my Radiant Typhoon testing.
So I guess if
So
you
the
go
plan
first,
is
you win.
basically there's actually I found two plans against Radiant Typhoon, against Lunalight with Radiant Typhoon. One plan is you make you summon Phonics. Or the first thing you do is you summon Gossip Shadow against one Liger. All right, that now you're protected from the field wipe, right? Then you summon Great Fly and Phonics, which is 3,500, and then you use the trap to boost the Phonics to 38, which doubles a Liger. Which works. And the cool part about it is that even if they have two Ligers, as long as you can bait one of them to send, you can still out two with this, because the Phonics, you crash, it goes into the grave, you activate MST, it comes back in the same turn, right? You can summon it twice in the same turn, so you can out two Ligers if you can bait one effect, or if they run out of fusions.
That's a genius.
And the other win con I found is just summoning Crossout in defense.
Because they don't have any back row.
If it's like, of course, if they go full combo, it's not as easy. But in its simplified game state, Radiant Typhoon just prints 10 cards every turn. And they like, let's say they summon a Liger with heavy poly and they have nothing left, right? You can just sit on Crossout until the end of time.
Can you recycle Great Fly somehow if they get rid of it?
Great Fly recycles itself. When it's destroyed, you can put it back in the extra deck.
Also itself.
Yes. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, it puts a wind back into
I
your
love
hand.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I went for for a more complicated line with
No, I think this is very efficient because you play Gossip Shadow, which is a solid card anyways.
It's very efficient.
And then it's one extra deck slot. And honestly, Great Fly is not even that bad of a card. That thing does a lot of damage sometimes.
No, I love it. I genuinely love it. I did not think about it.
What was yours?
Mine was like the Tri-Brigade sending the Lunalight fusion.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, that also works.
But I mean, again, like I'm playing like then suboptimal cards. Like you basically maximized all the slots, which makes Great Fly a great fly out.
Okay, dude. No, I wish I didn't tell you about it.
And then the last deck, I mean, I guess before moving up to the last deck, I'm sorry, spent outs Liger, Synchro 8 Magistus. Okay, and now we move to the last deck. Yep. The last deck is gonna be a deck that has been played by a fellow Raid and Trade, invented by a fellow Raid and Trade member, Dinkabui. And when I think about the deck, I always think that he's cooking something in the lab. K9 with Furair.
Yeah.
Because like during our last episode of this, I mean our last batch, more like interview than episodes, we're talking about the problem of bridges. So Konami saw that and it made more bridges. So So maybe we should actually enhance how bridges are good for the game instead of actually, trash talking them. I think the new bridge is great. The fact that any two monster with a different type can bridge into Furair is great. So awesome.
I think it's, all things considered, though, I think it's a relatively weak bridge.
I mean, set field spell.
The field spell is like, the field spell is fine, right? It's like, okay, you invest 2 bodies, you get the field spell, but the field spell searches.
You search Blazeman, pitch Blazeman, and then you go Donner revive Bladesman.
Yeah, but that's 3 bodies then, right? Because you need another one to make Donner.
Yeah, that starts from 1 K9 card.
Yes. I mean, I'm actually interested to hear why you wanted to include this deck, because in my experience, I've tried it. I've tried to make For Hire work because I love those cards. I played For Hire Runic a lot back then, and the new cards read really fun to me, but I didn't have the greatest experience with this deck. I thought it was not synergistic enough, and I also thought it was way too weak going second.
Because I was thinking about Dinka Boy. Sometimes I dream about him.
Yeah.
And I felt the K9 cards were pretty good. They are still pretty good. And I noticed that one Noroi. I mean, I think Izuna is a great card, no matter what.
Yes. I like Izuna, yeah.
Okay. But not every deck can play Izuna. Actually, no deck can play Izuna except for actually like Vanquish Soul and the Furair package. And I felt like Furair was better than Vanquish Soul, if that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, in my experience, I think going first, that might be true. I think going second, this deck, my experience with this deck is that it was so weak to removal, because you need so many bodies on the board to make anything work. And I felt like it was such a hard time when you have to contest with, like, I feel like the decks right now just have a lot of great removal. Like, we're talking Fallen and the Virtuous is in basically every deck. We're talking Arthalion bounces, Pan pops, Gulamel pops, Horn bounce. I felt like it was so hard to stick bodies on the board. Even Donner, right? Like, Donner needs to be on the board and then activate its ignition effect. Like, they can hold removal so long for those kind of cards, and it was so hard. Like, the only way the For Hire cards can beat removal is if you play a lot of For Hire cards, because they are all 2-card combos, right? And then, like, sure, if you have the new Rex, the level 5, with another For Hire, that's a great way to extend. But the more For Hire cards you play, the less space you have for non-engine or K9 cards, and then the K9 cards don't have the greatest synergy with the For Hire cards, except for the fact that, like, the Rex is level 5, but the Rex also doesn't do anything on the field. You want it in your hand, so summoning it with Jokul doesn't really help you much, I feel like.
I guess against the Chammis, right? Like, because it's a combo deck, but it's a combo deck that beats Chammis, if that makes sense.
Yes, going first, I love it. Going first, I think Rex is awesome. I thought it was a really strong deck going first, but then that's where I reached the problem. I was like, okay, if I like, most decks that I'm playing are good going first.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing like Radiant Typhoon, Draco Tail, whatever. Like, most of the time going first, I'm fine. But going second is where my problems start. And then I'm just drawing like a couple of For Hire cards, a couple of K9 cards, and if my opponent has removal, then I just can't go through it.
So for the people, the bridge is basically like using, like, going Noroi get into like the Jokul get into Lantern, use the 2 in order to make the new Link 2 set, the field spell, activate field spell, add the blade, discard the blade, and then you can make Donner using the Lantern. I mean, I guess no, I'm wrong, because you should make Reaper before, right? Because
yeah, you skip Ripper somewhere, but it still works. Like, you go Noroi, summon another one that searches you case, or like, I guess you play 2 Lantern maybe. Like, let's say you go Noroi, summon Lantern, search case, make Izuna, search Jokul, activate case for Lantern, then Lantern bring back one from the grave, then you can make the Link 2. The Link 2 can search the field spell. The field spell searches beat, you discard beat, and so on.
Yeah. So
And then you turn the Link 2 plus any other K9 into Donner, and then Donner brings back the
Blade that gets you
beat.
Rex. With the beat that gets you Rex, a special summon Rex, and from there you can do something. Like you can do the combo. I mean, I see that there are a lot of oops. So you
I
might
just
be
didn't
right.
see what it did that other decks didn't do, right? Like if I wanted a combo deck that's fine into Charmies, then or like Fuwa,
Mm-hmm.
then I would say like, Draco Tail does that okay. Radiant Typhoon does that well.
Okay, what
There's like
about
other
Vanquish then? Like Vanquish is a deck that does very well into those cards. And they do
Too,
play
yeah,
cards.
but Vanquish Soul I think plays a lot smoother going second because it's not as weak to removal. You got ways to dodge it. You got great extenders that don't require multiple for hire cards in your hand, right?
You are
Like
a
you can
huge
just have
Vanquish
like
Soul
a
fan. What's happening? You say that
huh?
like you are a huge Vanquish Soul fan. I remember you talking
Yes.
a lot about
Yeah.
Vanquish, and I do love Vanquish Soul as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't see you talking a lot about Vanquish Soul recently.
I just think it lost one of its biggest selling points, which is the really strong Draco Tail matchup. Because, well, the Draco Tail matchup is still okay for the deck. I think it's gotten a lot harder because the reason why the deck was so good against Draco Tail was because Draco Tail didn't have great ways to deal with defense position K9s.
Mm-hmm.
So you could really easily, like when I played the deck at YCS Bologna, it was really easy to win against Draco Tail going second because all you had to do was like summon Jokul in defense with another level 5, and that was a lot of pressure on the board already that basically forced them to go Arthalion, bounce them back. Because otherwise you just go through the board like it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
And also Izuna was a really, really strong card against Draco Tail in Bologna format. And both of those things are still kind of true, but there's a couple of problems now. Like problem number 1, Jokul is at 1, so you don't always have it. You have to use a spell to get it, and that doesn't work because they have flame. So if you activate chaotic elements or you activate case, they flame it. You might still have a play, but you definitely likely don't have Jokul.
Yeah, I don't like also spells in the deck. Like the more spell you add, the worse I feel like the deck
Exactly,
gets.
yes. The more spells you play, the worse it becomes into Draco Tail. The other problem is the Draco Tail board is not as simple anymore on average, right? Like if they draw Albaz or Magistus stuff, and if they do that, then you can no longer simply expect to beat it with like Izuna or Jokul plays because they have Fallen into Virtuous that pops your Jokul, and then you haven't achieved anything yet, right? Like let's say you go Jokul special Jiaolong, they pop the Jokul. Where do you go from there, right? You don't have anything yet.
Yeah.
And all that did was it traded with you invested 2 cards from your hand to trade with a quick play spell that they got for free.
Yeah.
So there's still all the traps, there's still 5 mana, there's still Gulamel, whatever else there might be on their board. You haven't done anything about any of that, right?
Yeah.
And the all the Izuna plays with the untargetable Valon or whatever, because of the Lupus, they now have better ways to out that because they can just go summon Albaz with Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. If they play the OG Albaz, they just fuse it away. And then yes, you get the pop from the Valon, but they also have a Mirror Jade.
Yeah.
Now, so like,
and you cannot auto Mirror Jade, like you actually lose on against Mirror Jade. Yeah.
It's just not as easy anymore. So you lose your quote unquote best matchup. I think it's not as favored anymore. It's not. I mean, it might still be slightly favored if you test it enough. I tried it a little bit and it was fine. Like Vanquish Soul does okay into Draco Tail, but it is nowhere near. Like it was like we're talking like 65-70% beforehand.
Yeah.
And that was a really good advantage to have when Draco Tail was one of the most played decks in the last format. It was really good statistically. Like my experience at YCS Bologna was I played against 5 or 6 Draco Tails and I beat them all in Swiss, which was like, which was a really good boost, of course, to make it into top 8. Because instead of like having to go 13-2, if you subtract all the Draco Tails from that, I had to go 7-2 in 9 rounds because I had 6 Draco Tails. So that's now not there anymore. So I like the deck. I think it's solid, but not as crazy anymore as it was for Bologna. But it's a solid option. I like it way more than before on paper. Like the deck is cooler now because you play more Vanquish Soul, less K9.
Yeah. which is what you were asking. Like they listen to you, and then
Yes,
you
no,
don't play the
I
deck.
think on paper I prefer the deck. I think it is a cooler and healthier deck now. Unfortunately, a reality that I sometimes have to accept in Yu-Gi-Oh is that more balanced and healthier is not always better when you go to a tournament.
I see that. I see that. Okay. I think we had a very long discussion.
Yeah.
That was extremely long, but I loved every second of it. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you for having me on. It's always good to talk about the game. It was a fun time.
I mean, I'm not Farfa. You can talk about the game with me. What's up?
Okay. You said that.
Yeah, I said that. Sorry, Nadir. But I really appreciate it, and I think that other people will appreciate it as well, because having those kind of discussion is healthy for the game, is healthy for the environment, is healthy for other things related in which might change or might not change what's gonna happen in the future. Because I do think that they keep an eye on us. Like they don't say it, but I do really think they keep an eye on us. And this kind of content, I do like to believe that will make a difference for the future.
I mean, you can only hope, right?
I only hope. 39.
Yeah.
39. Utopia, you feel me? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. And guys, remember to follow Joswa Smith. I mean, you're probably already following him, but remember to follow Joswa Smith. Remember to ring a bell on my channel if you want to see other content like this. I wish you guys a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.